Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Look at this watch. What time is it? Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Look at this watch. What time is it? It's time for Black Muslim singers to show up in Southeast DC. Look, we're early. That's big for us.
We are a week early here. We're making sure we're on time. We're here at Sweet Tooth Cafe.
And we're going to be here till you come. We're not going to leave. We're going to lock the doors. We're going to sweep. Listen, here's the deal. We have a special announcement. Tell them what the announcement is.
December 27th, the show is going to be here. It is a networking event for Black Muslim singles.
And we're talking about affordability.
Because now the ticket prices are for the low price of only
$65. And shout out to our sponsors who bought some of the tickets to give out for free. But some of those, hey, listen, this is a hard time. We're keeping it real. What you can do, if you can remember what you can do, brothers and sisters, is let me know. Reach out at preacherm1@gmail.com. Again, that's preacherm1@gmail.com. And I can give you information how we get you some of these free tickets. But this is going to be an amazing evening. I'm with the world famous right here.
And I'm with the other world famous.
And we hope that you're going to come so we can all be world famous together.
See you next Saturday on the 27th.
Yep, 7 to 10. Get your tickets. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. This is Preacher Moss, Muslim comedian OG. I actually found out I am an official OG, moving to status of elder. There's a video out there that actually talks about the levels, and so I'm right at there. So I'm enjoying the last spaces of being an OG. Now moving towards being an elder. Shout out to everybody that gave me some love on my birthday. I appreciate you. Apologies if I didn't get back to you right away. I'll be totally honest. One, I was extremely exhausted and tired. I need some rest, and then two, just working on this project, trying to get out. I'm very excited, brothers and sisters, to do the first annual, really East Coast, and first annual East Coast Black Muslim Singles Networking and Comedy Gala. There are a lot of things that I have learned through this. And I believe, inshallah, that it will allow me to market better, communicate better, particularly to our Black Muslim male singles. The sisters are going to be there, but I have to market them too, because I think the thing that will help us overall is that we have better information about what it is that's unique to our culture that makes marriages strong, number one, but two, providing a platform. And I think that's the one thing I learned. You know, you can have these events, and just so I'm going to let you know, we're going to have more and more events. Alhamdulillah, I talked to one of our sponsors. Shout out to Muslim Aid, my main man, Anwar Khan, CEO, interim CEO of Muslim Aid. And this is really important because they are supporting us. They are putting money behind us. The whole idea of our community is important. As he said, it's important. You know, you can't go to people when you want something from them. When they need something, we need to be there. That's what he said. And Muslim Aid, I also shout out to ShOUT Foundation of America. There's some private donors. I will keep them private for a moment. But these are people who are making this whole thing possible. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to do it. We would not be able to do it. But by the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we are in this space. We got a holiday happening tomorrow, and then I anticipate a full rush into Saturday. We are excited. Shout out to Chef Steve and everybody with Sweet Tooth. Shout out to Moses the comic. You know, we have a lot of people who are in this thing and invested. So that's number one. Number two is all the community people who've asked questions, who have made dua for us, who have listened to the youth, the singles. You know what? Thank you. Can't do it by myself, and I'm not able really to, attack it the way I want to, because it's new. It's a new thing for me. But what we've been fortunate with is just the fact that we have been able, again, by the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we've been able to break some things down, and I look forward to being able to implement these things because we have to be a lot more comprehensive. So that is what we're talking about today. Again, we are talking about the hard truth of marriageability. I think I made this word up. Maybe I'm not sure if I made this word up, but it sounds real. And it definitely is real. Even if it's a made up word, it sounds real. We're going to be talking about the hard truth of, again, marriageability. And if you are in the chat, if you're on Instagram, if you're on a live feed, YouTube, all of those, feel free to jump in because I feel like the concept of marriage in and of itself is not a thing that singles need to be broaching by themselves. It is a collective. So it's a single Muslim, it's a Muslim couples that have been married, and even people who've been divorced. Everybody has a story and a contribution to add to this situation. So we appreciate you. Listen, we're gonna get ready to rock. I'm gonna get myself ready for the show. We'll be right back. This is Preacher Moss on the ShOUT Show. Thank you so much in advance for joining us. All right, and we are back. Okay, so I have been talking with a lot of older brothers about this whole thing, and what has been apparently missing, and we're at deficit proportions. Is the fact that we talk about marriage, we talk about our children finding the right mate, which is very important, but we don't talk about the interstitial. We're not talking about the life cycle of our singles, which is extremely, the life cycle of a male single, the life cycle of a female single, and how, unfortunately, because society, we're not growing up in times where we're getting generational wealth in our communities. A lot of us, we work, we will get to wealth at a certain point in time, but it's not happening sometimes when people want to get married. For instance, there are a lot of fathers that want their women, their daughters to marry early. And marry early meaning that, you are able to establish the framework to have children and raise those children so that, at the end of that process, maybe when they get to be adults, you still have some space. And growing and learning the whole process is very important. A man and a woman get married, particularly a man and a Muslim get married, and the idea is that you grow community. We don't talk about enough about growing community. Now, on the flip side, I realize now that it's very easy to what am I trying to say? It's very easy to overlook the fact that our young men are going through a certain amount of trauma. Some of it, of course, is just being here in the United States, what that means, racism, Jim Crow, but it's a different kind of trauma, and we align male rites of passage with, of course, being married, raising families. But there's a thing now. They don't have the space and the bandwidth to do it all at the same time. For instance, a black man comes out of education, he gets his degree. Let's say he only does a BA, right? BA is important. So he finishes, he graduates, maybe he's 21, 22 years old. And he's going to spend 6 years to 7 years on average trying to figure out what his career is. Inshallah, once he gets to the career, he locks down. And in that space of locking down, he develops a proficiency whereby he can generate growth or wealth out of that position. By the time he does that, he's probably in his 30s. But I told you there's a sister who's in her 20s wanting to get married. You see where all of a sudden these things are not connected. What I'm not saying is that marriage is not important. It's extremely important. It's a part of our religion, part of our community. But you begin to see where the stratas are. Okay? I know that there are sisters who wanted to get married in their 20s, none in their 30s, some in their 40s. And brothers need to understand that. And I'm gonna say this, I'm gonna be very sensitive. Listen, uh, as women get older, having children can be difficult. It can be difficult. We just had somebody in our circle, in my family, when my circle, my professional circle, who just had a very, very difficult pregnancy. And um, it's fairly young, but you don't know the I'd say the difficulty of trying to have children, deliver children, and then if you're lucky, get to raise them. Right. This is interesting because here in the United States, and I picked this up, so anybody can jump on. I picked it up here in the United States that marriage is not the sacrament that it used to be. When you talk about African Americans and the whole idea of marriage, I used to say that whole idea of marriage being legally, recognized was going back to like 1880s. I want to reframe that. The idea of black folks having legally recognized marriages doesn't really happen to the Civil Rights Act. You're talking the 1960s. Why do I say that? Because before the 1960s, the vote was a very important instrument in establishing the protection of my family. We don't talk about this enough. The vote was very important in terms of establishing the protection of my family. Now, I was born in 1966, so my mom and dad kind of fell into that space. Um, they were newly exposed to the idea of voting, right? So they did that, but I'm talking about like my aunts and uncles who were older than them, they didn't have that. And so when we talk about marriageability, it's interesting because when you do the history, what was the actual model for black marriages in the United States? Black marriages were modeled originally after Victorian models. But what happens in the 1920s is that Islam comes to Philadelphia, and of course, with the Ahmadiyya movement, there were these things. But the idea of formulating functional family structure begins to be formed around marriage, a new revised understanding of marriage. And for Black Muslim men, let me tell you, it wasn't framed around Black Muslim men. It was framed through the I want to say the intellectual property and expression of Black Muslim women. If you go back and look, it is the Nation of Islam, it is Sister Claire Muhammad, and those people who frame what family would look like. And framing what family would look like was the first thing, and then they frame what leadership of that family would be. We don't have that because we think we know it all. Can I say that? We think we know it all. And so when we get into these marriage situations, we find difficulty because people are operating at different levels of engagement. Some are operating at a professional level of engagement that is transactional. Some operate it at a level where it's transformational. Some operate it whereby it's casual. Everybody's going to have their own relationship when it comes to marriage. Okay. Believe me, I know. What I'm saying is the communal aspect of it is something that we do not discuss. We are not doing marriage conferences. We're not doing marriage seminars. We're not doing marriage pep rallies. If I was a PR person talking about marriages, particularly about Black Muslim marriages, I would say we've done a pretty poor job. There's no PR. Now, let me stop. I'm actually going to give some shout out to the Muslim Journal, who ran an ad specifically talking about Black marriages, right? Now, this is a unique thing. I didn't realize it till I got into the weeds of trying to pull this program together, pull this comedy show together. And I realized that I can't do a normal singles event because I'm doing comedy. I have to frame what that is. So networking and comedy are two things you normally don't have, but we have to have the networking and the comedy. If it's just a singles meetup, it's at a store, we have to custom tailor the environment, which is hard but we're going to do it all praise to the Lord. So listen, let's get into our comment section real quick. We're gonna jump into Instagram. Who we got today? My brother, black man. Wa alaikum assalam rahmatullah barakatuh. Brother JT, what's happening with you, beloved? Good to see you. My main man, Eric Carter from South Kakalaki. Wa alaikum assalam rahmatullah barakatuh to you, man. Good to see you back on the spot. Big brother Bilal, do you have your queen with you, sir? Do you have your queen with you? Wa alaikum assalam rahmatullah barakatuh, man. Thank you for joining us. You know, we're gonna have to get you and your queen on talking about black marriages. Instead of we gotta get some modeling going on here. All right. Yes, Sister Aika, wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi barakatuh. Shout out to you. Let me give you some thoughts. And let me get into the Instagram piece right here. We got Oflex, we got Permissible Laughter, Sister Shahida Jeffries. She joined us. Alhamdulillah. Comedian Walter Campbell. Wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi barakatuh. Cousin Mimi and Ruth Nasrallah out of Houston. Thank you so much for joining us. I threw the word out marriageability. And I said the hard truth of marriageability. Well, when you are in a space, you put yourself in the marketplace that says, essentially, I want to share my life. You put yourself in the marketplace that says, listen, to what is going to be, I'm going to bring to you who I am, and hopefully you're going to bring to me who you are. And in that space, we're going to hopefully find some joy, connection, and through that joy and connection, we will grow our community, which is a family. That's one part of it. But then another thought hit me, and I want you to bear with me. So I was talking to my graphic designer about this. When I looked at what I was doing in terms of this Muslim singles event, it's designed to fail. It is designed to fail. Why is it designed to fail? Because when you look at it, everything I've told you, everything I've talked about speaks to the fact that there's disadvantage. That there is a fear and a conspiracy against holistic Muslim marriages, black marriages, marriages, period. You know, the permissibility of things that you look at in terms of law has for many years eroded the protection of marriage, right? You know, we come from an Islamic tradition, you know, our prophet, our leader, peace and blessings be upon him, invokes protection of women, invokes empowerment of women. Because listen, Saudi Arabia, they didn't have any rights. You know, you're an asset. You're not an individual, an asset. He changed that dynamic. Even in Christianity, Jesus frames the power of women. I haven't seen that in the United States for about the last 15 years, that we frame the power of women, that we celebrate their personhood, that we put them out. And this is interesting because when you don't do that, when you get to the marketplace, we are somehow believing that, particularly men, we're believing somehow that these women aren't fully evolved. I'll put it out there. They're not fully evolved. They're not 100%, and nobody's going to be 100% of what you want, okay? But the stipulations grow because we believe somehow we deserve 100%, but that's perfection. You know, and if you're looking at perfection, then there's some flaw in your expectations, because if you want perfection, you got to be willing to give perfection. Otherwise, it can't breathe. You see what I'm saying? But two thoughts hit me, particularly with Black Muslim marriages. Marriages in general, but particularly Black Muslim marriages. And it hit me in terminology. So bear with me on this. I am a guy who was not really able to do the whole pronoun thing. Satana, don't laugh at me. I couldn't do the he, she, it thing. I couldn't do it. All right. You know, even if I tried to do it, it ain't in me. Just be honest. Sometimes it ain't in you. But I'm old enough to remember how black marriages were settled coming from the South. And here's the thing you need to know, that love, particularly black love, has been undervalued and in many ways undermined. And this is DC. So anybody who's from DC knows what I'm about to talk about. You have terms now where unhoused. Have you heard that term? Unhoused, unlived. I've never heard this before in my life. You either got a house or you dead. That's the way I came up with it, right? I'm just, but I remember Ronald Reagan when he first got here in Washington D.C. The first thing he did was close St. Elizabeth's mental health ward, only one we had in D.C. He had no programs for those who are seriously and severely mentally ill, schizophrenic, just walking around Washington, D.C. And if you wanted to get any kind of mental health help, it was privatized. There was no public service. And that became the core of the homeless. You see what I'm saying? It became the core of the homeless. And for years, it was the homeless, the homeless, the homeless, the homeless, the homeless. You know what happened? And I realized, because I said something to somebody and I used the word homeless and I was corrected. It's like, no, brother. Unhoused. And then I realized with the economy, the government shutting down, when white people started losing their homes, now it's the unhoused. See, homeless means you never had a home. Unhoused means maybe you lost your house. So black Muslim singles and other singles, particularly black Muslim singles, you are facing the conundrum of being an un. You win. You're facing the conundrum of being an un. Now, is it time of Trump? Sure, but listen, MAGA has figured it out. This is why MAGA is having a result right now. But they realize that all the uns apply to them too. You are uneducated. You're unintelligent. You're unemployable. You're undermining. You are undervalued. You are misunderstood. You are unvalued. You see what I'm saying? Up to the point where you are unnecessary. And if you create a population of people who, it doesn't matter what, forget the uns, it doesn't matter if you created that situation. That unsuitable is something that I heard talking about Muslim singles, single folks, black Muslim singles, people unsuitable has seeped into the vernacular of people whereby 15, 20 years ago, we were talking about growing our communities. We were talking about producing children. We were talking about producing schools and education. And we weren't taking these words and throwing them into a deep void, some weird abyss. We were literally planning, and this is the thing, for all you Muslim singles out there, you've got to be intentional about your planning. Hard truth about marriageability is that it's hard to meet people. I mean, I feel for some of these Muslim singles. I've seen 20 women over here, 30 men over here, 50 people in the room, everybody looking at their phone. This is what they do right here. They don't talk to one another. They don't speak to one another. See, the thing about marriageability, and people don't talk about it, is you gotta be willing to be vulnerable. You gotta be willing, brothers and sisters, that person that you want, you gotta be willing to take an L. It's a short conversation, but you gotta get them scars. Those scars are healed. It's okay. Look, I was a kid at a party one time, and I want to talk to this young lady, and she had 3 of her friends around, and my dude said, "Don't do it. They're gonna hand you your hat, preach. Don't do it." I said, "No, I'm a man. I am Preacher Moss." And I walked over, And I said, excuse me, it was a party. I said, excuse me, excuse me, excuse me. I said, would you like to dance? She said, no. I was a comedian. I said, good. I wasn't talking to you anyway. All right. Well, my point is, yeah, was my face smashed? Yeah, it was smashed. But the point is, you learn, brothers and sisters, you're going to learn how to frame that language. You're going to learn how to frame your approach. Maybe I'm not going to wear this shirt. Maybe my hair is going to look a little bit this way. Maybe I'm going to just come over and start a conversation first instead of let me take the leap into I was 16 years old, brother and sister. We ain't even know no better. Man, ain't nobody had no game. We were just happy to be at the party. You know what I'm saying, Satan? You know what I'm saying. But here's the thing I do want to emphasize, and I don't want to overlook it. The hard truth about marriageability is right now, marriage is on a decline. And it will continue to be on a decline because we don't have a support system that, one, values women the way it used to value women. That's number one. And then you have a revolt. You have a revolt. You have women who are going, if I can't be treated the way I want to be treated, then I don't want to deal with nothing. Is that wrong? No. If you understand the history and treatment of women in America, no. See, because there's a certain amount of hope that has to happen. There's a certain amount of vulnerability that has to happen. And it has to happen in a very unique space. A very unique space, a very unique offering. Oftentimes we don't realize that, and we think I go to the party. See, when you go to the clubs, for all you Muslims still going to the clubs, I ain't saying you can't find somebody suitable at the club. I ain't saying that. I kind of am saying that. Satan, I guess I am saying you look for Muslim sisters in the club, all hijabbed up, dancing to Drake. It probably ain't gonna happen. That's just a fact. But, and let me speak to you, brothers. You can hate on me all you want to. Listen, game recognizes game. Some of y'all turn up married. You ain't married Muslim sisters. You married non-Muslim sisters. And people ask, where did you meet? And you just you stuttering because you know you out of bounds, you out of pocket. We met some of these people, and we give you a pass when you come to the masjid, right? That's honest. You know, let's keep it 100. Let's keep it 120. All right. You're still talking about men and women that have needs to be loved, physical needs, spiritual needs. Listen, if it ain't happening, you're a fool to think they ain't gonna go out and get it. You're foolish. People have needs. Now, we have this beautiful religion of Al-Islam, alhamdulillah, that gives you a process. It gives you, but you know what? And as much as powerful as the Quran is, you know, the Quran gives you the rules, but it don't give you game. It gives you the rules, but it doesn't give you game. You have to frame a narrative that works for your personhood as being Muslim, or your personhood as being Christian, that allows you to have emotionally and spiritually and religiously and romantically a work-life balance. You see what I'm saying? A work-life balance that goes across all the things I just mentioned, and gives you a pathway. Because this is why I tell dudes, hey man, get out the club, to join them, like, because it doesn't necessarily give you a pathway to joy. So let me advocate for my Muslim sisters. Satana, can I go over a minute? My Muslim sisters, I'm gonna speak to you on behalf of a bunch of brothers. And brothers, stop acting like you can't come to these events. I'm gonna start sending out ICE after you. As soon as they finish with Latinos, ICE is coming after single Muslim men to come to these events. Sisters, please be patient with us. We are evolving as fast as we can. Some of us get it, some of us don't get it. Some of us are afraid to have a family if we can't support a family, if we can't protect the family. Some of us are worried about if we get the bag, when we get the bag, and sometimes we get the bag, we want to enjoy the bag before we share the bag. That's the way it goes. But I want you to not be discouraged. I want you to show up at these events because if there are strong Muslim sisters at these events, the brothers will come. Because it's always going to be, and let me say this, listen, the fruit and the progress and the success of Islam is always and has always been the strength of our sisters. So sisters, please be patient with us. All right, we got an event. Please, if you want tickets, Satana, can you put up the email, please? For all you people who may not have the money to come, we're going to take that excuse out. Go to info. Go ahead, Satana. There you go. permissiblelaughter@gmail.com. Again, that's permissiblelaughter@gmail.com. We will give you a ticket. We have free tickets. We will give you a ticket. All right. I can't do it for everybody, but we can do it for maybe about 20 people. If you're serious and you're in need, yeah, guess what? We ain't got to worry about having a bag. We're going to take care of it for you. Shout out to our sponsors, the God Foundation of America, and of course, Muslim Aid doing big things. So listen, that's where it is right now. I hope to see you. We're going to have networking. We actually have some people there who's going to be volunteering, and they're going to be Muslim couples because they care about you too just as much as I do. All right? We're going to have networking. We're going to have some laughs. This is probably going to be one of the most unique opportunities to do something different. I am excited. I am looking forward to having you. My name is Preacher Moss. Thank you so much for your time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Till next week, take care.